friends, today's topic is national income. Introduction. National incomes provides a comprehensive method of economic activities of a nation. It denotes the country's purchasing power. The growth of economy is measured by the rate at which a real national income grows over the time. National income thus serves an instrument of economic planning. Further, national income is one of the most significant, the most significant variables. Thus, the clear understanding of the meaning, concepts, measurements and uses of national income is essential. Noble literature Simon Gusnetz first introduced the concept of national income. Meaning of national income. In common parlance, national income means the total money value of all final goods and services produced in a country during a particular period of a time. Example, 1 year. Gross Domestic Product, GDP. GDP is the total market value of final goods and services produced with the country during the year. This is calculated at a market prices is known as GDP at a market prices. GDP by expenditure method at a market price is C plus, it means consumption of goods, I investment of goods plus X minus M. X denotes exports, M denotes imports. X minus M is the net export which can be positive or negative. Net domestic product, GDNP. NDP, it means NDP, net domestic product, is the value of net output of the economy during the year. Some of the country special equipment wears out of becomes outdated each year during the production process. Thus, net domestic product equals to GDP minus depreciation. Gross national product, GNP. GNP is the total measure of a flow of final goods and services at market value resulting from current production in a country during the year, including net income from abroad. GNP includes 5 types of final goods and services. Value of final consumer goods and services produced in a year to satisfy the immediate wants of people, which refers to the consumption, G. Gross private domestic investment in capital goods consisting of a fixed capital. Formation, residential construction and inventories of finished and unfinished goods, which is called as gross investment. Goods and services produced or purchased by the government, which is denoted by G. And net exports of goods and services, example, the difference between the value of exports and imports of a goods and services known as X minus M. Net factor incomes from abroad, which refers to the difference between the factor incomes, which interest, profits. Receipt from the abroad by normal residents of India and factor incomes paid to the foreign residents for the factor services rendered by them in the domestic territory in India, R minus P. GNP at market price means the gross value of final goods and services produced annually in a country plus net factor income from abroad. C plus I plus G plus X minus M plus R minus P. Net national product, it means NNP. Net national product refers to the value of net output of the economy during the year. NNP is obtained by detecting the value of depreciation or replacement allowance of a capital assets from the GNP. It is expressed as NNP equals to GNP minus depreciation allowance. Depreciation is called as capital consumption allowance. NNP at a factor cost. NNP refers to the market value of output, whereas NNP at factor cost is the total of income payment made to factors of production. Thus, from the money value of NNP at a market price, we deduct the amount of indirect taxes and add subsides to arrive all the net national income at factor cost. NNP at factor cost equals to NNP at market prices minus indirect taxes plus subsidiaries. Personal income. Personal income is the total income received by the individuals of a country from all sources before payment of direct taxes in the year. Personal income is never equal to the national income because of the former includes the transfer payments, whereas they are not included in the national income. Personal income is derived from the national income by deducting undistributed corporate profit and employees' contributions to social security schemes and adding transfer payments. Personal income equals to national income minus social security contribution and undistributed corporative profits plus transfer payment. Disposal income. Disposal income is also known as the disposal personal income. It is the individual income after the payment of income tax. This is the amount available for households for consumption. Per capita income. The average income of a person of a country in a particular year is called per capita income. Per capita income is obtained by dividing national income by population. Per capita income equals to national income by population. Real income. Nominal income is a national income expressed in terms of general price level of a particular year. In other words, real income is the buying power of a nominal income. National income is the final value of goods and services produced and expressed in the terms of money at current prices, but it does not indicate the real state of the income. The real income is derived as follows. Real income at a constant price equals to national income at a current price divided by P1/P0. P1 is price index during the current year and P0 is price index during base year. GDP deflator. GDP deflator is an index of price changes of goods and services, including in GDP. It is a price index which is calculated by dividing the nominal GDP in a given year by a real GDP for the same year and multiplying it by 100. GDP deflator equals to nominal GDP by real GDP into 100. Now we can see about methods of measuring national income. All goods and services produced in the country must be counted and converted against money value during a year. Thus, whatever is produced is either used for the consumption or by saving. Thus, national output can be computed at any three levels: production, income, and expenditure. Accordingly, there are three methods that are used to measure national income: production or value added method, income method or a factor earning method, expenditure method. And if these methods are done correctly, the following equation must hold: output equals to income, input equals to expenditure. This is because the three methods are circular in nature. It begins as a production through requirements of the factor of production, generating income and going as a incomes to a factor of production. Product method. Product method measures the output of the country. It is also called the inventory method. Under this method, the gross value of output from a different sector like agriculture, industry, trade and commerce, etc. It is obtained for the entire economy during the year. The value obtained in the actual GNP at a market price care must be taken to avoid the double counting. The value of the final product is derived by the summation of all values added in the productive process. To avoid double counting, either the value of the final output should be taken into the estimate of GNP or the sum of values added should be taken. In India, the gross value of the farm output is obtained as follows: total production of 64 agriculture commodities is estimated. The output of each crop is measured by the multiplying the area sown by the average yield per hectare. The total output of each commodity is value of at a market price. The aggregate value of total output of these 64 commodities is taken to measure the gross value of agriculture output. The net value of the agriculture output is measured by making deductions for the cost of seed, manures and fertilizers, market charges, repairs and depreciation from the gross value. Similarly, the gross values of the output of animal husbandry, forestry, fishery, mining and factory establishments are obtained by multiplying their estimates of a total production with the market prices. Net value of the output in this sector is derived by making deductions for cost of materials used in the process of production and depreciation, allowance, etc. from gross value of output. Net value of each sector measured in this way indicates the net contribution of the sector to a national income. Precautions. The project method is followed in an undeveloped country, but it is less reliable because the margin of errors in this method is large. In India, this method is applied to agriculture, mining and manufacturing including handicrafts. Double counting is to be avoided under the value added method. Any commodity which is either raw material or intermediate goods for the final production should not be included. For example, value of cotton enters value of a yarn as cost, and value of yarn in the cloth and that of the cloth is in garments. At every stage, value added only should be calculated. The value of output used for self-consumption should be counted while measuring national income. In the case of durable goods, sale and purchase of second-hand goods, for example our own cars, should not be included. Income method, factor earning method. This method approaches national income from the distribution side. Under this method, national income is calculated by adding up all the incomes generated in the course of producing a national product. Steps involved. The enterprises are classified into various industrial groups. Factor incomes are grouped under labor income, capital income, and mixed income. Labor income, wages and salaries, fringe benefits, employees' contribution to the social security. Capital income, profit, interest, dividend and loyalty. Mixed income, farming, sole proprietorship and other professions. National income is calculated as a domestic factor, income plus net profit. Incomes from abroad. In short, Y equals to W plus R plus I plus pi plus R minus P. W denotes wages, R denotes rent, I denotes interest, pi denotes profits, R denotes exports and P denotes imports. This method is adopted for estimating the contribution of remaining sectors. Small enterprises making and insurance, commerce and transport, professions, liberal arts and domestic services, public authorities and house property and foreign sector transaction. Data on income from abroad, the rest of the world sector or a foreign sector, are obtained from the account of the balance of payment of the country. Precautions. While estimating national income through income method, the following precautions should be taken. Items not to be included. Transfer payments are not to be included in estimation of national income, as these payments are not received for many services provided in the current year, such as pension or social insurance, etc. The receipts from the sale of second-hand goods should not be treated as part of national income, as they do not create a net flow of goods and services in the current year. Windfall gains, such as lotteries, are also not to be included, as they do not represent receipts from any current productive activity. Corporative profit tax should not be separately included, as it to be already included as a part of a company profit. Items to be included. Imputed value of a rent for a self-occupied houses or offices is to be included. Imputed value of services provided by owners of a production units. Family labor is to be introduced. The expenditure method, it means outlay method. Under this method, the total expenditure incurred by the society in a particular year is added together. To calculate the expenditure of a society, it includes a personal consumption. Expenditure, net domestic investment, government expenditure on a consumption as well as in capital goods and net exports. Symbolically, GNP equals to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. C denotes private consumption expenditure, I denotes private investment expenditure, and G denotes government expenditure, and X minus M denotes the net exports. Precautions. Second-hand goods. The expenditure made on a second-hand goods should not to be included. Purchase of shares and bonds. Expenditure on a purchase of old shares and bonds in the secondary market should not be included. Transfer payments. Expenditure towards payments incurred by the government like old age pension should not to be included. Expenditure on intermediate goods. Expenditure on seeds and fertilizers by farmers, cotton and yarn by textile industries are not to be included to our double counting. That is, only expenditure on final products are to be included. Now we can see about factor cost. There are number of inputs that are included into a production process when producing goods and services. These inputs are commonly known as the factor of production and include things such as land, labor, and capital and entrepreneurship. Producers of goods and services incur a cost for using these factors of production. These costs are ultimately added on to a price of product. The factor cost refer to the cost of production that is incurred by a firm when producing goods and services. Examples of such production costs include the cost of renting machines, purchasing machinery and land, paying salary and wages, cost of obtaining capital, and the profit margins that are added by the entrepreneur. The factor cost does not include the taxes that are paid to the government, since taxes are not directly involved in the production process and therefore are not of the part of the direct production cost. However, subsides received in the factor include the cost as subsides are direct inputs into the production. Market price. Once goods and services are produced, they are sold in a marketplace at a set marketplace. The market price is the price that consumers will pay for the product when they purchase from the sellers. Taxes changes by the government will be added on to the factor price, while subsidies provided will be reduced from the factor price to arrive the market price. Taxes are added on because of the tax cost that increase the price, and subsidies are reduced because subsidies are already included in the factor and cannot be double counted when market price is calculated. Thus, MP equals to FC plus indirect taxes and subsidies. This is equation 1. Or FC equals to MP, indirect taxes plus subsidies. This is equation 2. National income, NNP, equals to gross value added by all productions enterprises within the domestic territory of the country. Depreciation, net indirect tax plus net factor income from abroad, where net indirect taxes equals to indirect tax minus subsidies. Gross value added equals to value of output minus indirect consumption. Value of output equals to sales plus changes in stock, where change in stock equals to closing stock minus opening stock. This is a note. If entire output is sold within the year, then value the output will be equal to the sales itself, or value of output equals to price into quantity sold. GDP equals to private final consumption plus government final consumption expenditure plus gross domestic capital formation plus net exports minus imports. This is the formula of a market prices. Importance of national income analysis. National income of a great importance for the economy of a country nowadays. The national income is regarded as the accounts of the economy, which are known as the social accounts. It enables us to know the relative importance of the various sectors of the economy and their contribution towards the national income. From the calculation of national income, we could find how income is produced, how it is distributed, and how much is spent, saved, or taxed. To formulate the national policies such as monetary policy, fiscal policy, and other policies, the proper measures can be adopted to bring the economy to the right path with the help of collecting national income data. To formulate planning and evaluate plan progress, it is essential that the data pertaining to a country gross income, output, saving and consuming the different sources should be available for economic planning. To build economic models both in short run and long run. To make international comparison, inter-regional comparison, and intertemporal comparison of a growth of the economy during the different periods. To know a country's per capita income, which reflects the economic welfare of the country, provided income is equally distributed. To know the distribution of income for various factors of a production in the country. To arrive at a macroeconomic variable, namely tax, GDP ratio, current account deficit, GDP ratio, fiscal deficit, and GDP ratio, debt GDP ratio, etc. Difficulties in measuring income, it means national income. In India, a special conceptual problem is posed by the extension large, unorganized or non-monetized substances sector where the barter system will prevail for transacting goods and services. Here, a proper valuation of output is very difficult. Difficulties: transfer payments, difficulties in assessing depreciation allowance, unpaid services, income from illegal activities, protection for self-consumption and a changing price, capital gains, statistical problems. Transfer payments. Government makes the payments in the form of pensions, unemployment, allowance and subsidies, etc. But they are not included in the national income because they are paid without adding anything to the production process. During the year, interest on national debt is also considered transfer payments because it is paid by the government to individuals and firms on their past savings without any productive work. Difficulties in assessing depreciation allowance. The deduction of a depreciation allowance, accidental damages, repair and replacement charges from the national income is not any easy task. It requires a high degree of judgment to assess the depreciation allowance and other charges. Unpaid services. A housewife renders a number of useful services like preparation of meals, serving, tailoring, mending, washing, cleaning, bringing up children, etc. Cleaning is not paid for them and the services are not directly included in the national income. Such services performed by paid servants are included in the national income. The reason for the exclusion of a service from national income is that the love and affection of a housewife in performing her domestic work cannot be measured in the monetary terms. Similarly, they are difficult to be assessed in money terms. For the reasons stated above, such as rendering services to the friends, painting, singing, dancing, etc. Now we can see income from illegal activities. Income earned through illegal activities like gambling, smuggling, illicit extraction of liquor, etc. is not included in national income. Such activities have value and satisfy the wants of the people, but they are not considered as productive form of a point of view in the society. Production for self-consumption and changing price. Farmers keep a large portion of food and other produced on the farm for self-consumption. The problem is very part of the produce which is not sold in the market can be included in the national income or not. National income by product method is measured by the value of the final goods and services are current market prices. But prices do not remain stable. They rise or fall. To solve this problem, economics calculate the real national income at a constant price level by the Consumer Price Index. Capital gains. The problem also arises with regard to capital gains. Capital gains arise when a capital assets such as a house, other property stocks or shares, etc. is just sold higher price than was paid for it at the time of purchase. Capital gains are excluded from the national income. Statistical problems. There are statistical problems too. Great care is required to avoid double counting. Statistical data may not be perfectly reliable when they are compiled from numerous sources. Skill and efficiency of a statistical staff and cooperation of a people at a large number are also equally important in estimating national income. The following are of some of the statistical problems accurate and reliable are not adequate, as farm output in the subsistence sector is not completely informed. In animal husbandry, there are no authentical production data available. Different languages, customs, etc. also create problems in computing estimates. People in India are indifferent to the official inquiries. They are in most cases non-cooperative also. Most of the statistical staffs are untrained and insufficient. Therefore, national income estimates in a country are not very accurate or adequate. There is at least 10% margin of error. National income is overestimated or underestimated by at least 10%. That is why the GDP estimates for the India varies from 2 trillion US dollars to 5 trillion US dollars. National income is also being measured by the social accounting method. Under this method, the transaction among various sectors such as firms, households, governments, etc. are recorded and their in relationship traced. The social accounting framework is useful for economists as well as the policy makers because it represents the major economic flows and statistical relationship among the various sectors of the economic system. It becomes possible for the forecast the trends of the economy more accurately. Social accounting and sector. Under this method, the economy is divided into several sectors. A sector is a group of individuals or an institution having a common irrelated economic transactions. The economy is divided into the following transactions: firms, households, governments, rest of the world, and capital sector. Firms. Firms undertake productive activities, thus they are all organizations which employ the factor of production to produce the goods and services. Households are consuming entities and represent the factors of production who receive payment for services rendered by them to the firms. Households consume the goods and services that are produced by the firms. These firms make a payment to households for these services. Households spend money income they received on the goods and services produced by the firms. This is circular flow of money between these two groups. The government sector refers to the economic transaction of public bodies at all levels. Center, state, and local in their work concerning social accounting, Eddy and Peacock have defined government as a collective person that purchases of goods and services from firms. These purchases may be financed through taxes, public borrowings, or any other fiscal means. The main functions of the government is to provide social goods like defense, public health, education, etc. This means of satisfying the collective wants of society. However, public enterprises like post office and railways are separated from the government sectors and included as firms. Rest of the world sector relates to international income transaction of the country. It contains income, export and import transaction, external loan transaction, and allied overseas investment income and payments. Capital sector refers to saving and investment activities. It includes the transaction of banks, insurance, corporation and financial households and other agencies of the money market. These are not included under the firm. These agencies merely provide the financial assistance to the firm activities. While assessing the sectoral contribution to GDP, the economy is divided into three, namely primary, secondary and tertiary sectors. National income and welfare. National income is considered as the indicator of the economic well-being of the country. The economic progress of the countries is measured in terms of their GDP per capita and their annual growth rate. The country with the higher per capita income is supposed to enjoy greater economic welfare within the highest standard of living. But the rise in GDP or a per capita income need to always promote economic welfare. The per capita income as the index of economic welfare suffers from a limitation which are stated below. The income welfare depends upon the consumption of goods and services provided, the greater for the proportion of capital goods over the consumer goods. The improvement of economic welfare will be lesser. Similarly, the production of the luxuries is meant to be rich classes only. A GDP with the greater environmental hazards as air, water and soil pollution will be little economic welfare. The production of war goods will show the increase in national output but not welfare. An increase in per capita income may be due to employment of women and children or forcing workers to work for long hours, but it will not promote economic welfare. Therefore, the physical quality of life index, it means PQLI, is considered a better indicator of economic welfare. Is included standard of living, life expectancy at birth and literacy, national income and erosion of the national wealth. For achieving higher GDP, larger natural resources are being depleted or damaged. This means reduction of a potential for future growth. Hence, it is suggested that while assessing national income, loss of natural resources should be subtracted from the national income. National income in terms of USS. When Indian national income is expressed in terms of US dollars, the former looks very low. If purchasing power parity PPPP method is adopted, India looks better. Social and environmental cost. While producing economic goods, many environmental and social bads are also generated. Hence, they must be considered while enumerating national income. Summary. The national income of a country describes the economic performance or production performance of the country. Economists, planners, government, businessmen and international agencies, IMF, World Bank, etc. use national income data and analyzes them for various purposes. National income data help in measuring changes in the standard of living over time and also enables us to compare standard of living of different countries. Level of development of the country is also measured by using national income figures. The economic history has shown many countries facing economic problems. Out of these problems, unemployment is the most vexing. Both classical economists and Keynes have explained the relationship between the employment and income. The classical economists had great faith in the law of market articulated by J.P. and the French economist J.M. Keynes is one of the greatest and most influential economists of the mid-20th century. Meaning of the full employment. Full employment refers to the situation in which every able-bodied person who is willing to work at the prevailing wage rate is employed. In other words, full employment means the person who are willing to work and able to work must have an employment or a job. Keynes defines Full employment as the absence of involuntary unemployment. Lerner defines full unemployment as that level of employment at which any further increase in spending would result in an inflationary spiral of wages and prices. Every economy in the world aims at attaining the level of full unemployment, equilibrium, where all its available resources are fully and efficiently employed to achieve the maximum level of output. But in reality, the concept of full unemployment or employment generally refers to a full employment of a labor force of a country. Unemployment and its type. Unemployment is a problem faced when there are people who are willing to work, able to work, but cannot find suitable jobs. While formulating policies to solve the problem of unemployment in India, for instance, we need to distinguish between the nature of unemployment in rural areas and in urban areas. In India, India's rural economy has both unemployment and underemployment. The major feature of a rural employment is the existence of employment in the form of discussed employment and seasonal unemployment. In India, frictional structure and open unemployment exist. In urban areas, due to urbanization, unemployment and its types. Unemployment is a problem faced by when the people who are willing to work and able to work but cannot find suitable jobs. While formulating objects to solve the problem of unemployment in India, for instance, we need to distinguish between the nature of unemployment in rural areas and in urban areas. In India, India's rural economy has both unemployment and underemployment. The major feature of a rural employment in the form of discussed unemployment and seasonal unemployment. In India, the frictional structure and an open unemployment exists in urban areas. Due to urbanization, large number of people move from rural areas to urban areas. This migration from rural to urban area increases the size of labor force in urban areas and adds to the already unemployed labor force. Types of unemployment. In developing countries like India, the nature of unemployment is different from the developed countries. In developed countries, the unemployment is purely temporary or cyclically or frictional. But in the developing countries, it is largely structural unemployment, which is due to slow rate of capital formation. The following are the types of unemployment: cyclical unemployment, seasonal unemployment, frictional unemployment, educated unemployment, technical unemployment, structural unemployment, discussed unemployment. Now we can see about cyclic unemployment. This unemployment exists during the downturn phase of a trade cycle in the economy. In a business cycle, during the period of a recession and depreciation of income and output fall, leading to the widespread unemployment. It is caused by the deficiency of efficient demand. Cyclical unemployment can be cured by a public investment or an expansionary or a monetary policy. Second, we can see about seasonal unemployment. This type of unemployment occurs during a certain seasons of the year in agriculture and agro-based industries like sugar production activities and carried out only in some seasons. These industries offer unemployment only during that season in a year. Therefore, people may remain unemployed during the off-season. Seasonal unemployment happens from a demand side also. For example, ice cream industry, holiday resorts, etc. Third, now we can see about frictional unemployment, temporary unemployment. Frictional unemployment arises due to the imbalance between the supply of labor and demand for labor. This is because of immobility of labor, lack of necessary skills, breakdown of the machinery, shortage of raw materials, etc. The person who can lose the job in such a job are also included under frictional unemployment. At fourth, we can see about educated unemployment. Sometimes educated people are underemployed or unemployed when qualification does not match the job. Faulty education system, lack of employable skills, mass student turnout and preference for white collar jobs are highly responsible for educated unemployment in India. Technical unemployment. Modern technology being capital intensive requires less labors and contributes the technological unemployment. Nowadays, invention and innovation lead to the adoption of new techniques. Thereby existing the workers are enriched. Labor savings devices are responsible for technological unemployment. Sixth, we can see about structural unemployment. Structural unemployment is due to the drastic change in the structure of the society, lack of demand for the product or shift in demand to other products. Cause this type of unemployment, for example, rise in demand for mobile phones has adversely affected the demand for cameras, tape recorders, etc. So, this kind of unemployment results from massive and deep-rooted changes in the economic structure. Seventh, now we can see about discussed unemployment. Last employment. Discussed unemployment occurs when more people are there than what is actually required. Even if some workers are withdrawn, production does not suffer. This type of unemployment is found in agriculture. A person is said to be disgustedly by unemployed if his contribution to output is less than what he can produce by working for normal hours per day. In this situation, marginal productivity of labor is zero or less or negative. Now we can see about classical theory of employment. There was no single theory of which could be able or labeled as classical theory of employment. The classical theory of employment is composed of different views of a classical economist on the issue of income and investments. In the economy, Adam Smith wrote the book An Inquiry into a Nature and a Cause of Wealth of Nation in 1776. Since the publication of this book, classical theory was developed by David J. S. Mill, J.B. Say and A.C. Pigou. Classical economists assume that the economy operates at levels of full employment without inflation in long period. They also assume the wages and prices was flexible. and the competitive market exists in the economy. Now we can see assumption and Say's law of market. The Say's law of market is based on the following assumption. No single buyer or seller of commodity or an input can be affect the price. Full employment. People are motivated by self-interest and self-interest determine the economist's decisions. The laissez-faire policy is essential for an automatic and self-adjusting process of the full employment equilibrium. Market forces determine everything right. There will be a perfect competition in a labor and a product market. There is a wage price flexibility. Money acts only as a medium of exchange. Long run analysis. There is no possibility for overproduction or unemployment. Unutilized resources used until the reaches for unemployment. No government intervention, automatic price adjustment and mechanism are operated. At last, interest rate flexibility leads us saving investment ability. Implications of Say's law. There is no possibility for over the production or unemployment. If there exist unutilized resources in the economy, it is profitably to employ them to the point of full employment. This is true under the condition that factors are willing to accept rewards on a par with their productivity. As automatic price mechanism operates the economy, there is no need for government intervention. However, J. M. Keynes emphasized the role of the state. Interest flexibility brings about equality between the savings and the movements. Money performs only the medium of exchange function in the economy as people will not hold the ideal money. Criticism of a Say's law. The following are the criticism against the Say's law. According to Keynes, supply does not create its demand. It is not applicable where demand does not increase as much as the production increases. Automatic adjustment process will not remove the unemployment. Unemployment can be removed by increase in the rate of investments. Money is not neutral. Individuals hold money for foreseen contingencies while business keeps a cash reserve for future activities. Say's law is based on the prediction that supply creates its own demand and there is no overproduction. Keynes said that overproduction is possible. Keynes regards full employment as a special case because there is under unemployment in the capitalist economy. The need for state intervention arises in the case of general over the production and the mass unemployment. Now we can see about effective demand. The starting point of Keynes' theory of employment and income is principle of effective demand. Effective demand denotes money actually spent by the people on the products of industry. The money which entrepreneurs receive is paid in the form of rent, wages, interest and profit. Therefore, effective demand equals in national income. An increase in the aggregative effect demand would increase of the level of employment. A decline in total effective demand would lead to unemployment. Therefore, total employment of a country can be determined with the people of a total demand of a country. According to Keynes' theory of employment, effective demand signifies the money spent on the consumption of goods and services on the investments. The total expenditure is equal to the national income, which is equivalent to the national output. The relationship between employment, the output of the economy, depends upon the level of effective demand, which is determined by the forces of aggregate supply and aggregate demand. Effective demand determines the level of employment in the economy. When the effective demand increases, employment will increase. When effective demand decreases, the level of employment will be decreased. The level of employment will decline. The effective demand will be determined by two determinants, namely consumption and investment expenditures. The consumption function depends upon the income of the people and the marginal propensity to consume. According to Keynes, if the income increases, consumption will also increases, but by less than increase in income. The rate of interest and the marginal efficiency of a capital determine the investment level. Rate of interest depends on the money supply and liquidity preference. Keynes has given importance to the concepts of liquidity preference. Liquidity preference is based on three motives, namely motive, transaction motive, precautionary motive and speculative motives. Thank you.